thank you so much for being willing to be my first guest for our sales strategy call in 2023. Just so you know, Denise, some of the stuff that we do as a team is every Monday, we do a sales call and we go around the horn and everybody knows their numbers, right? How many leads, how many deals, how many pre-approvals. And a lot of times I throw a curveball, like what's your word of the week, or how many realtors you're going to call this week, or what's your follow-up plan. But then we go into sales coaching. So these guys get just a ton of coaching and we do a lot of accountability. But I wanted to just amp it up to the next level this year and bring on some of the people that I really respect and admire, look up to, and am just following, so that we could bring more tactics, like actual sales strategy that makes a difference. It helps us generate more leads, convert at a higher level, build our brand, and ultimately be successful in this business. So, I hate to say, but I went and looked you up on MMI, Denise, and I shared with everybody your numbers. So you did over 400 transactions, and that's not 2021 numbers. That's 2022. Over 400 transactions, 200 million in volume. But what was the most impressive to me, Denise, is the number of agents that referred you last year. I don't know if you know the number, but holy wow, girlfriend.
Yeah. And that's something I'm super passionate about, because when I started my career, which I got licensed in 2012, I kind of always heard from coaching programs that, and I don't disagree with it, but there's been a market shift. And I just think it's important that even some of the top producers, I don't want to say expose, but let's just keep it real. That's totally how I roll, is just keeping it real. There was always this mindset of like, oh, all you need is 10 realtors and you can close really big numbers. And I think that would be fantastic. Like if I had 10 agents that were sending me 50 deals a year, which it's not sending them, but it's like closing 50 deals a year. Well, heck, sometimes I feel like I'm the Bachelorette and I have to hand out these roses. And like, if I only had to date 10 agents, I mean, I would probably be a better partner, but in my entire career, I've never had just 10 agents. So I don't know if that just means I suck at what I'm doing, but I want everybody on this call to know, and I actually pulled it up because I was running numbers. I have a couple of agents that I close double digits, and Shayla, you might have this information, but I have a couple of agents that I close 10 or more deals a year with. And I'm just talking about last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna show it on MMI, because this is public, and this is, everybody could go look you up if they've got access. But yeah, I show Carrie and Lane 10 and 12. And then you've got this, and sometimes this isn't always 100% accurate, but you got a couple that we would call accounts that you do 4 or more. Yeah. And then the rest, look at this.
Yeah.
Holy moly, girl.
And some of the MMI numbers, they duplicate. So really we have 6 agents that we do, like Caitlin's double listed on there. I don't know why MMI does that, but we have 6 agents that we've closed 10 or more. And then we have like 18 that we've closed 5 or more. And then everybody else are like 3s, 2s, and 1s. And so the reason why I'm so passionate about sharing that is because there are some coaching programs that still harp on, there's a guy that calls it the boomer strategies. And it's like, but if you actually look at a lot of these top producers, real estate agents, there are a lot of them. And so I think conversations need to be more about how the hell do you date 100 agents, And no, I don't date my top 10 the same way I date the people that I only close 3 with. But how do you date and court and touch and add value? And that's, and have a full-time job of being a loan originator and pre-qual people and run DU. And, like that's what's real.
Exactly. So I want you to go into that, Denise, because I would love to see how you build out an annual calendar, your weekly calendar, and how you date that many agents, because I think that's so powerful. But before we go into that, so again, last year you did 400 and something transactions. The other thing that was really cool, and I'll get off of the data, but you probably don't have anybody that pumps you your own data. and tells you how amazing you are. But this holy shit, like, your purchase business. So you've been doing this for 10 years. Your purchase business goes from 53 units in 2016 to 84 units to 108 units to 170. 2020, where a lot of people are focused on refi heavy, 278 purchases. And then here we go last year in the biggest refi boom, right? 339 purchases. And, I don't know what you did in 2021, but it looks like you did about 133 million in purchase. So like, what's really cool, Denise, is I want to talk about this evolution of how you've continually, because this isn't like massive growth from 53 to 84. No, that is not massive growth. So then it's like just momentum starts happening. So that'll be really fun. So what does your team look like now? Do you have a team of originators? Are you, what do you do on the transaction? Let's just talk functionally what you look like.
So, we actually closed in the last 12 months, just over 600 units. I don't know why it's showing 400, but sometimes MMI does that. We have a builder account, and maybe new construction isn't showing up on there. But I share this with you, not to impress you, but really to impress upon you that I'm the only loan originator. So I have 5 LOAs, 2 processors, and 2 admins. And my LOAs at this point are smarter ninja nerds than I am when it comes to like dissecting tax returns and running findings. And but what was really important to me is, there's no shortcut. You can't take the elevator to the top. So as you can see, when I was starting out in 2012, I had never written a purchase loan. Like, I came from the big banks. I was scared to death to talk to a real estate agent. I didn't have one realtor in my database. So in 2012, when I started, I was a refi chick, and I kind of wanted to be a refi chick because I was so scared of the purchase. But I knew at that point that I had to pump my database with as many realtors that I could. And so I started at that time doing that from a sense of like open house crashing. And I made it my rule that every week I was going to add at least 5 realtors a week. Now, what my strategy today would be versus then is drastically different. But then I started, I think in 2014 or 15, when you see that leap, I started realizing that, okay, I don't have any assistants. I'd go to these conferences and these top producers would get on stage and they'd talk about all. I'm like, well, yeah, that's really easy. You have like 4 assistants. I was salty a little bit. But so my mindset at that time was like, how can I create more time for myself so that I could write more loans, but I can't clone myself. Yes, I have a twin sister. So if y'all see her on Mortgage Coach, that is not me, it's my twin. And so I thought, okay, I could do this with video, and not video from a social media standpoint, which everyone talks about today. I mean, the one-timing video. And I asked myself, what annoying questions do I get every damn day that I'm so tired of answering? What if I could just record those? And then rather than like get annoyed with answering the same question, I'll just create this library of answers recorded so that I didn't have to take my own time to answer them. I could just send them the recording, and I'm making time for myself, right? And you can look at my YouTube channel. It started back in 2013. Do not laugh and don't video shame me. It looks like the Blair Witch Project, but let me tell you, it doesn't matter because the content's there. But I was answering things like, what is an escrow account and how do you read a HUD statement? Yes, HUDs are no longer around, but what kind of documents is the underwriter going to look at? Just those kinds of things. And I then loaded them on their YouTube channel because YouTube was free and I didn't have any money. So I was like, I'm not paying for another damn app. Just what can I do that's free? And it got to a point where if somebody texts me on nights or weekends or during the day and they said, hey, I have a client and they have a question about XYZ, I could answer the phone and call them because that's what my brain was programmed to do. Instead, I said, I'm so sorry. I'm on another call, which wasn't true, but I'm training them, right? I'm on another call. Let me send you this link that explains this. If you have more questions, here's my Calendly. I'd be happy to jump on a call, but I'm in back-to-back meetings. And I don't want you to wait for the answer. And what I found is that majority of the time, the video would answer the question. As Blair Witch Project as it was, It answered the question. And so I was noticing that I was freeing up my time, that I could do more sales driven things. And at that time I was working on my CRM because I needed to still work in my business. And so that's what I did in those initial areas. And then lo and behold, as I'm doing those, I get more comfortable with video. By the way, guys, most of my videos are done. I do some professionally produced videos, but I still really believe in the authentic handheld iPhone in your face, showing your screen. There's a time and place for super overproduced, but if you're on a budget and you're starting out, I promise you, if your content's good and you're teaching people something, don't speak over their head. Don't speak in lender lingo. Teach them something that they don't know, and they're going to tune in. It doesn't matter how fancy your equipment is or how cool your equipment is or how much money you spent on the equipment. You don't need a studio. You just show them how you did a rapid rescore and increase someone's credit 40 points, and it'll be one of your most watched videos. So, but it was at that time that I was like, they became one-timing videos. And then I got more comfortable to do more videos on social media. And then it got more comfortable to putting more videos on YouTube. But I mean, look at those videos. That was 2013, Shayla. People look at me now and they're like, but you're so comfortable on video. I'm like, girl, I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, you know,
Yep.
It didn't, trust me, it didn't look good at the beginning. It never does. So I would ask.
I want to take it back before getting in the business, because you said you were at a bank. So how long have you been a loan officer now?
So I dabbled in, truth be told, I graduated college. I'll keep this short. I graduated college and there wasn't a great job market at the time. It was 2006. And I got a job at a one call close phone dialing system. Like I personally paid for my own college myself. I didn't have parents that paid for it. And so I paid over 6 figures for this piece of paper to say that I was important and graduated. But then I went to a straight commission job. People thought I was nuts. And you had to make 400 dials a day. I won't even get into what it was, but you had to make 400 dials a day. And it was at that time that I learned rejection, but I also learned how to build trust really quickly over the phone. That company went under, and the guy that worked there was like, hey, you're really good on the phone. I think you should come into mortgages. You can call these, what were they called? Lending tree leads.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know how to spell mortgage. I don't trust mortgage people. My dad lost his house when I was young, and I don't. Anyways, I was desperate. So I got into the mortgage business for about 6 months in 2007. And I walked in one day and they said, we can't fund your loans. And I was like, wow, that's 2 for 2 fresh out of school. Companies going under. Screw this. I'm going to go work for JP Morgan Chase. I'm going to be a financial advisor like what my older sister did. They're stable, secure. Like, I'm not going to have to worry about them shutting the doors down. And so I think I was 25 or 26 at the time, got my financial licenses, and realized that when you're blonde and 26, people don't really want to invest their money with you. They don't think that you have enough life experience. And but I found myself, because in the banking world, they had a business banker, a financial advisor, and a mortgage person. I found myself still going to the mortgage side, because financial advisors, people are very limited with what they tell you. They actually don't have to disclose everything to you. They could have credit card debt that you don't ever know about. They could have a brokerage account somewhere else that they don't ever disclose, because they want to see how you handle this amount of money before giving it all to you. But I really found that in the mortgage space, we get to see people completely naked. We see their credit, we see their debt, we see their income, we see their assets. And so my heart just kept gravitating to that mortgage side. And so finally in 2010, I started doing loans for Chase, which really just meant I was a robot doing refinances, because our database was endless at Chase. I mean, literally you could sort through like 1,000 people. And if you weren't afraid to get on the phone, which I wasn't, you could just call. What they didn't tell you is that your underwriter was in Manila and you couldn't get, you could do all this work to get the loan, but you weren't going to close it, which wasn't really cool. And so in 2012, I said, screw this. I'm going to leave the bank. I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to go work for a correspondent lender. And I got licensed in April of 2012. And that's when I say that's when I started betting on myself.
Betting on yourself. That is such a freaking awesome statement. So I want to get back to this dating the bazillions of agents that you must to get this, but I have a question before that, because you're famous for branding. you're the mortgage nerd. You've got it behind you. You've got the glasses on. Is there actual glass in these glasses, or can you poke right through them? Yeah, that's what I thought. I love it.
And they're from Amazon. They're like literally a nickel a piece. And that's the most shame that I get on my like social media is I have people that are like, are your glasses even real? Are you a real nerd? I'm like, let's be real. Definitely a nerd. I just don't actually wear glasses. So if anybody lets the cat out of the bag, I'm coming to you, Shayla. But no,
Okay.
they're fake. They're fake.
Okay. So at what point did you decide though, that like, I'm a mortgage nerd, or why did you take that persona on? Forget about the fact that you've blown it up and you've done all these creative things with it, but like, why does that speak to who you are genuinely?
And this is an interesting story because I had a CEO tell me not to do it. In 2013, my name is Denise Donoghue. Y'all can see it up on the screen. And Donoghue is a very tough name to spell. It's with the G. At the time, I was working for a company named Cente Mortgage. How would you spell Cente? Some spell it with a C and some spell it with an S. And so I started realizing that my email address at the time was denise.donoghue@centemortgage.com. It was very difficult for people to remember it. And so because of my upbringing, where we basically lost everything when I was 14 years old, I became obsessed with never feeling that amount of fear and anxiety in my life ever again. There's nothing worse than not having food on the table or not having AC in your house when you live in Texas and it's 110 degrees. So I shouldn't complain about the heat to you guys, but it's hot here. And so I became obsessed with learning how to make money work smarter and not harder. And I was the kid in high school and in college that, I worked multiple jobs. I graduated school without a single student loan. I didn't want debt. I didn't want credit. My dad lost his house when I was a senior in high school. And so I didn't really learn a whole lot from my college education as much as I did I started an eBay business, and that's how I paid my way through college. And I was selling Dallas Mavericks jerseys and Dallas Stars jerseys. That's when we were good. But the internet wasn't like what it was today. So I could go to the local store and get a Jason Kidd Dallas Maverick jersey and get for buy one, get one half off. But someone in California couldn't easily buy a Jason Kidd or the Dallas Stars when we had, what was his name? Darian Hatcher and Marino. Anyways, I could buy these for cheaper and I could sell them online. So I started making really good money. So that's just how my brain's been wired. I wasn't the girl that was going out, out to the bars. I didn't have money. I didn't have a big group of friends because I was a nerd. My mind was always like, why am I going to pay that much money for those shoes and that shirt when, that's a loaf of bread and peanut butter and jelly. So I was always a nerd. And so in 2013, when I started realizing people were having a hard time even remembering my name, Denise, because I have an identical twin. So even to this day, people call me Deborah and I'm like, it's Denise. I'm like, just call me the nerd. I started telling my clients, just put my name in your phone as the nerd. You're never going to forget it. And it was a chuckle. And my thing is a little bit of sense of humor. And my CEO came into my office a couple of days later and was like, Denise, do not ever do that. I do not ever want to hear you doing that. And here's a guy that makes millions of dollars, drives a really fancy car, requires our office to have crystal glassware. He's that hoity-toity. And I'm like eating goldfish. I'm like, you're eating like caviar and I'm eating goldfish. But so I had so much respect for him. And he was like, don't you ever do that again. You are putting yourself here and the client here above you. And you don't ever want to do that as a salesperson. And so at that point in time in my life, I could have listened to this mega successful guy that's clearly a lot smarter than I am. Or I could have listened to my gut and been like, but I am a nerd. And I actually getting a mortgage is really vulnerable for people. There's the fear of rejection. There's the fear of not making enough income. And so I don't want people to be intimidated by me. I actually want. And so at that moment, I was like, I am going to stay true to who I am. And at that time, social media was a toy. People were, it's not even, don't even get me started on TikTok. I hate TikTok. My sister loves TikTok. I will not be that person that does I say that I shouldn't say that because you watch, I'm going to be that person that starts like lip singing and doing dances. But in 2013, I was probably one of the first that said, man, there's a lot of people on this Facebook thing. What if I used it as a tool and not a toy? And what if my name just became the mortgage nerd on social and that's just who I came, because I'm a nerd, so I don't really have a fun life. I don't do, there's nothing that you
Yes.
guys are going to be jealous of with my life. I promise you, I'm a homebody. So I started using social media as a tool, and I started going by the nerd, and it kind of caught on. And so then I started wearing the glasses and then realized, well, that's kind of like the Nike swoosh, that's how people can relate to me. And I just said, to hell with it. I'm going to go with my heart, because I have always given mortgage and finance strategies within a mortgage loan. That's always been my heart and soul. I've never been an order taker. Even if someone came into my office, even in the 2013 days, and said, I'm putting 20% down because my dad said I should, but I have 30 grand in credit card debt. And I'm always going to be strong enough and bold enough to challenge that strategy in a polite way. I'm not going to disrespect someone's parents. But if somebody in my dad's circle or in my dad's friend group or in my dad's parents, sisters, brothers provided better financial advice to him, he wouldn't have ended up in the financial situation that he was in. So I don't expect my clients to have the friend circles and the parent circles to be in the position to offer them that advice.
Right. They came to you, you get to be that person. I think that's,
I want to be that person. Yeah. So I am a nerd. I am super boring. I'm a homebody. So it truly is. People today look at it like, oh, it's such great branding. But in 2013, it was like, this is who I am, and I'm just going to own it. So own it.
Yeah. And then you've lived into it, and you always are creating value and coming up with strategies. And I think every one of us could go start a YouTube channel and just do the one-off videos, like you said, and just start. I mean, every annoying question that we get, what's an escrow statement? Why am I getting an escrow refund? How do I read my mortgage statement? What is a payoff? I mean, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because that becomes your brand, is that you are an educator. That,
right.
And I'm not intimidating. And I think that's so important, is that you feel approachable, and that people go, oh, this person's nice. I really like this person. It's the like and trust. So, okay. Let's get to realtors. We talked about at the beginning call how your purchase businesses just continue to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
You're at a retail lender now with Thrive. You live in Dallas, Texas. So you have some benefits in the sense that you have, probably like 15,000 realtors that you could meet, but that doesn't mean anything, because you still have to have some sort of a connection.
Right.
I think about what I just educated my team on yesterday that was on the coaching call, that it's about initial contact, then it's about building rapport, then it's about closing, and it's about follow-up. So let's just break those things down. How have you gotten initial contact? If you had, you probably had like 75 different realtors who referred you a closed loan, let alone how many referred you leads that never closed.
Right.
So how have you, what's your tips for getting initial contact with realtors? And let's just say in the last, well, you could do however, you could talk about when you first started, because I have newer loan officers and I have people that, are
I'll kind of do a double, because at the end of the day, it's just a funnel, and there's sections to the funnel. And so the top of the funnel is going wide. I compare it to like fishing. You can either fish with a pole or you could fish with a net. And so in today's day and age, with the internet and social media and Zoom, and you can start wide and fish with a net, and then you can get really, really narrow with one-to-one type things. And I don't personally think, there's other people that will disagree with me. I don't think that it matters which end you start at, but it's a contact sport, and you have to get in front of enough agents. So before I had a big realtor roster, I had to find a way to do it. I started doing open house crashing, where I would do 5 a week. But in today's day and age, when you need a lot more realtors on your bench than we did years ago, that would be a tough strategy, or just would be a slower strategy. It's like taking a horse to work versus a car. No, we don't take horses here in Texas. But it is a strategy. It will get you to work. It's just going to be a little bit slower. So the second thing that I did was I attended a conference, and I heard someone up on stage say that every single time they took a mortgage application, they asked the client for their CPA, financial advisor, or their divorce attorney. And in turn, they would take that information, they would schedule appointments and try to reconnect them with the realtor. And I thought, wow, that's really cool, but I have no idea how the hell I would implement that because I don't have enough time in the day. But what I did is I made a PowerPoint presentation, and I would go to the local title companies that had big realtor rosters, because keep in mind, I don't have any. And I said, hey, I have this really cool, change in the game where real lenders are going to be able to send business back to realtors. And I've got this PowerPoint, and the title company would see it and be like, man, that's great. I've never seen a loan officer talk like this, think like this. I'm like, let's do a seminar together. And they had a wide net of realtors. So it started with me presenting this concept of, hey, your lender should be able to give business back to you. Now, I don't have a database of, if I was so good at it, I would go be a real estate agent myself. But what I can do is be more strategic with the leads that you give to me. So I would get a sign-in sheet, get those names. It would be about 30 names anytime I would do it, and I'd put them in my CRM. The key is most people will go and do a seminar like that, and then they don't do crap with the follow-up, which we'll get into in a second. So don't spend all this time, energy, and effort doing all this stuff and just staying on the hamster wheel if you don't have a super intentional follow-up strategy that goes hand in hand. But I started getting in front of more agents. I quickly learned, that's a lot easier than spending my Sundays doing open house crashing. And so I just tried to do as many of those as I could. And then with my social media going on in the same time, because it is a cocktail of things. You can't just do one thing. Man, it would be nice if all you could do was one thing, but that's not the world that we live in. So I've always been consistent on social now. So I would invite people to follow me. That would give people a window shopping view. They're not sending me deals yet, but they're starting to know, like, and trust me because of the consistency and what I'm putting out on social. At the end of the day, people are going to do business with people they know, like, and trust, but they can still know, like, and trust you just from a virtual relationship. So my social media was consistent. I was dumping people into my roster. And then the next layer was I need to do private masterminds with these agents. And I need to bring an appraiser in, and I'm going to share with these group of realtors, hey, come meet with me. Let's do a mortgage and mimosa class. And let's talk about why the hell appraisers don't do price per square foot. And again, it was kind of a selfish thing for me because I was so tired of trying to teach agents why appraisers don't measure that way. But I just found that I didn't have to be the one that was always bringing the content. Sometimes, just like you're doing now, I can bring an appraiser in and let him do it. And then I thought, well, I could record some videos with this appraiser and put it on my social media, put it on my website. So when someone gets frustrated with an appraisal outcome, I could just reuse that. And it's not me telling you, it's this expert telling you. You could do the same thing with a credit repair. How many times have you guys been asked, but if I get my credit pulled with you, is that going to hurt my credit? Sure, you could be the one to answer that. Or you could just have your credit expert with a video with you answer it. Whose answer is more credible, yours or theirs? There's some bias to your answer because they think you're just going to tell them that to get the deal, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So there's some of that you could do. But so then I started adding, okay, I'm going to do events with title companies. I'm going to host my own. And my follow-up, this is what blows people's minds. It is not anything special. I'm going to say the E word. It's an email. And every Friday, I send out an email, but I've been doing this now for like 6 years. And it's not that the vehicle method is email, because there's other things that I'm doing and inviting them to that's valuable. But the fact that every Friday they get an email from me that is something that is valuable to them. It is not an apple pie recipe. It is, here's how I saved this client from making the worst decision of renting for another year, and instead they decided to buy. And it could be a video of me explaining it. It could be a social media graphic that is articulating the strategy that they can just swipe and adapt and use themselves. It could be The one I recorded most recently was, I don't know what it is. I don't know if every realtor in our area attended some seminar, but they're like all quoting the Mortgage Daily interest rate site.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, should I go on Zillow and quote every client's like home value based on Zillow? Because if you dig deeper into Mortgage Daily, there's 3 different sections, and one was like 6.03, 6.4 something with, I mean, y'all know but so I recorded a video that's like, you got to be careful doing that, because what down payment, what are all the LLPAs? Y'all know that script. Y'all can go look at my social media and see, because I actually recorded as a social media and in a Friday email, because not everybody watches with how the algorithms are.
Yeah, no kidding.
Everyone's going to see that, So, but my Friday emails are, I don't know why, but it's like and every agent that I meet goes into my CRM and they're tagged as a realtor. It could be a listing agent. It could be someone that attended one of my events. Because of COVID, I've been amping up the amount of Zoom webinars that I do. I still do in person, because you can't be all virtual. You just can't, where it's a human-based business. You can do a lot virtual, but you still got to see people. Otherwise that relationship fades. And so that's kind of my concoction of like consistent social media, consistent Friday email. That's not about you. It's about them, how to write an underwriting friendly repair amendment, just all kinds of stuff. Most people will then ask me, Shayla, how do you come up with the content for your Friday emails?
Right.
And I think the only way I can answer that is I try, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And if you just listened more to what pain points do clients have when they're calling in on that initial call, what concerns are they bringing up? What fears are they? Same thing with your real estate agents. That should be the driver of your content. And so I wish I had a better answer.
The reality is that you haven't run out of content to keep coming up with, because that's why we're still doing this, 18 years later, is every day you get a different question. Every day you get a different scenario. Yeah. And if you're engaged in the game, out of a whole week, out of 5 days, you're only looking for one nugget to bring to the table. And I'm assuming, Denise, you've gotten to the point where you're not judging yourself about how powerful is this, like on a scale of 1 to 10, is this a 10 idea or is this a 2 idea? You're just giving. And for some people, it's like a mind blower. And for others, it's like, yeah, duh, but you're not judging yourself. You're just going for it.
No, because what I learned is like, there are times when I'm like, man, that Zoom was horrible. I had an agent, I did a guest thing. His name was Glenn Bill, and I thought it was going to be freaking awesome. The guy was 12 minutes late to my like end of year. I was mortified and I thought it was horrible. And I had a large amount of agents that were like, that was incredible. I was like, really? I still can't get over that he was 12 minutes late and I'm scrambling as the host, like stressed out, sweating. Like that shit happens. It happens even to me. And you're like, oh, the internet must, like, how much, the 12 minutes is an eternity, it feels like. But the reality is there are things that I think are mind blowing and people think that they're duds. And there are things that are duds. So I stopped even putting an opinion on it. And I just stay true to the facts and what's coming in and what questions, because the reality is I had an agent share a video with me on social about the 4 things that are in a mortgage payment. And I'm like, Jesus, I feel like I've recorded this video 1 million times and you're sharing this with me like as if you've never seen. And so it's just, you might record a similar topic, but it's worded a different way, and that's just how life is. Because there are some agents that worked with you last year that have never worked with you, so they don't know.
So at this point, this is how you've built this funnel. You've done networking events. You did 5 agents crashing open houses, but you've been very intentional the whole time, or at least the last 6 years, of every single person you meet, of getting them in your database, of following them on social, so that they immediately get in your world. Yep. Whether or not they pay attention for 3 years or never send you a deal or anything else. But how do you, at scale now, Denise, if you had 30 people come to a lunch and learn, how are you then building rapport? How do you get to that point where it's actually a relationship? And you're getting to know them. I taught this as well this week, that it's character, drive, and skill.
Mhm.
Like if I was to interview all of you all over again and hire you all over again, or somebody's looking to hire me, if they're on social media looking at me and going, do I want to hire that person? Or do I want to go work for Shayla? You're looking at three things. You're looking at a person's character.
Yeah.
You're looking at their skill. Are they skillful to do what you're looking for them to do? And are they driven? Right. So you've already shared with us your story of drive. I know why Denise Donoghue has a fire in her belly. I know that she went through financial hardship as a young person, dad losing his house, you know, you have an eternal chip on your shoulder to make sure that you're safe and secure and making money. And that is what fuels you. Nobody needs to, you don't have a Shayla every Monday going, hey, Denise, you know, like rallying, like you've just had this fire in your belly. And I think, guys, number one, we just set all these annual goals. Some of you might already be feeling like I've slipped a little. Like my goal was to run a mile a day, or, you know, to meditate or journal every day, or, you know, to do 1 power hour every single day. And here I am, I've already slipped. I'm not finding the will. And it's really comes down to that fire in your belly. Like, do you have the drive? How bad do you want it? And I think over anything else, what you can feel from Denise is like, this chick wants it. Like, and she wants it bad. And she's been after it for 10 years. So just look at all of you and go, where could I be in 10 years? If I could ignite that fire in my belly, like, what is it? Why do I really, really, really want to get good at this craft, at making money here? And then you just consistently did a few things over and over and over again, because everything that you do, you get better at everything.
Yeah.
If you just commit to doing it. And so the same thing goes, I think, with an agent, you know, because so many people get frustrated with agents, you know, they're flaky, they're not all in, they lie, they cheat on us, they, you know, all the things. And I always say, you know what, just love the game, because that is what it is. If you start fighting against that about a reality, like you're going to wear out really fast. Instead, just love the game. So what that they used to refer you 10 deals last year and now they're a listing agent? So what that they joined a real estate team as a preferred lender and now they're stealing your deals? So what that, you know, they want to give out 3 cards, like get better, be more valuable. But it's in the building of a rapport with an agent that you typically find out their character. Are they going to do shady shit, or are they going to do the right thing? You know, their drive, like what is their why? Why are they now in this business commission only when there's 10.6 million job openings? Like, are they going to do what it takes right now? Are they going to knock on doors? Are they going to go to open houses? Are they going to open their mouth at their kid's basketball game and talk about real estate? Are they going to wear a name tag? Are they going to, you know, put themselves out to be rejected? To me, I don't care if somebody's brand new or forever. If they have that fire in their belly, I'm like, I'm in with you. Like, let's do that. So how do you do that at scale? How are you doing that now?
Well, the reality is that you're not going to, and I had to accept this because there's a level of me that was like, I'm never going to be that lender that's too big. And I would lose deals years ago that was like, realtors would say, oh, Denise and her team got too big. And that was like soul crushing because, man, I don't ever want any, I'm so intentional that I want everybody to feel in the room. Like any meeting I'm in, my phone's put down, I give you my 100%. So it was soul crushing for a while and we had to figure that part out, but I can't treat everybody the same. And so not everyone's going to get the same amount of love and attention, and they're just not. And so what I do is the things that my Friday emails, everybody gets those. Those don't cost me time or money. When I send out an invite to my masterminds, I will exclude my top agents and I will make those more private, more exclusive, more VIP. But let's be honest, the questions that these team leads have, it's kind of like the questions that a $100 million loan originator has at this point in time in their business are drastically different than the $5 million. And it doesn't mean that they're better. It just means that they're on different chapters of their story, you know? So I do try to exclude those and make them feel more private, more VIP. I will tell you that those meetings are a lot of it is like for the gram. The content's good, but let me tell you, you better have the food because you want them grammed because they're going to post it. And then other people are going to see that this top agent is doing really cool stuff with the nerd and her shit's always grammable. And I hate that part of life in today's world. I really do, but that is the world we live in. So there are certain things, if you're a C-level real estate agent with me closing 5 deals or less, I'm not spending a lot of time and money on you. if you'll still get invited to things, but they may or may not show up. And if they're producing at that level, they probably won't. If I give them an option to Zoom for a mastermind or come in person, those type almost always come in Zoom, but they're still okay with it in a weird way because they got the invite. And so they feel included, but they're still seeing me on camera. So in a weird way, there's still enough of a connection that it's okay. But my B+ and A players, I mean, we are doing kneecap to kneecap. My top 10, we're doing like once a quarter meetings. Where are you at with your business? What do we need to improve on? How are we on communication? Where do we need to get real estate agent? Instead of you sending an email with a Word attachment, asking your buyer these questions about what type of home and square footage and number, let's make that a web form and tell them to click here, fill it out, and it gets emailed to them because they know I'm process minded. That's how my brain works. So those types of meetings, though, are very different than someone that a real estate agent that might close 3 million. So I offer to every realtor in my database, hey, I'm doing this free Zoom webinar. And a couple of times a year, I will extend the invite that it's an in-person. And a couple of times a year, I will do a for the masses happy hour. And still, not everybody comes. I probably have 6,000 agents in my database, and
this is what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah.
So you on your Friday emails, you got 6,000 people getting it every Friday?
Every Friday. And you know what? Some may use me and some may never use me because they're sisters in it and they still get my stuff. And so there's a scarcity mindset that loan officers have where it's like, well, what if they just use your stuff and they never send you business? Well, did it cost you more time and money to send it to them? There are some agents that I fired or who I just like don't like. And so I'm like, you're off my list. It's very tough for those people. But otherwise, as long as you're providing realtors value in their business, and if you don't know how, just call Shayla because she's the queen of it. But you've always got to be looking at ways to add the value. And if you can add enough value, even just in a Friday email or in a Zoom meeting with them, they will still feel connected enough to do business with you. But those A and B players, like I had a coach tell me about 5 years ago, this was before I had my son. She said, you're all business, everything about your business. It's like masterminds. And I'm like, yeah, what do you do for fun? I'm like, I sleep and I guess I go to the gym. But I don't want to do any fun with realtors. She's like, you need to have some fun with realtors. I'm like, really? Like I have to be friends with these people? This is how much of a homebody. Like if it's just me, my husband and my son could stay in our house, or travel by ourselves. Like that's how boring we are. I was like, damn, okay, I guess I have to be fun. So let me do happy hours. I don't really drink, but let me host a couple of happy hours. And then I started doing things like on Mother's Day, I would do for my top 10 or 15, which was probably a RESPA violation, but I'm like, let's have a pedicure party. And it's not business. It's just like, let's have some mimosas and some chocolate covered strawberries. And then I think last year when Top Gun came out, I'm like, hey, to my top 40 agents, let's go be Top Guns together and go watch Top Gun. And we rented out so I have sprinkled in some fun because I literally had a coach tell me that I don't do anything fun. And I think I have learned that almost deepens the relationship more, that was a big piece to my scenario that I was missing, is I just was like so focused on the value in the business because that's more of how I'm wired. But I actually deepened the relationship more by just doing stuff like that. I had no idea. It literally took me that amount of time to figure that out in my business.
Well, there's always 3 things, right? There's visibility, which you've done really well. You've consistently every Friday. And I guarantee you out of 6,000, how many of those open? Do you have open rates or watch, or do you even care?
They're like I don't even look at it because
I figured,
but it's like an 86%, but there are some stats I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm doing this because I know it works. Like I know going to the gym every day is healthy. I don't necessarily lose weight every day, but I know that the daily decision of going to the gym and maybe eating a salad for lunch is better than not going to the gym. I don't care what the scale says, you know what I mean? So
yeah. So you've got visibility, and the way you've chosen to be visible, Denise, from the get-go was, I'm going to do these videos on YouTube. So that's an evergreen thing that is living there forever, that somebody could find you. I'm assuming you're posting how often? Are you 5 days a week? Are you 7? What are you doing for posting?
Well, I do delegate about 80% of that to Deborah at Plug and Play. And so she schedules, I'll make my videos and my reels and stuff, but they schedule the post. And so the trick for me is I batch my content 1 month in advance. You can't do it any more than that. But the way that my marketing calendar looks is I have an Excel spreadsheet and I have columns. It's not anything, y'all, I am not fancy, but it's like January, February, March, April, May, June. And then on the row sections, it's like in January, what holidays, vacations, or important things are in January, where you've got New Year's, you've got MLK Day. February, you have Valentine's Day, Super Bowl. And so I do that, like college graduations, Mother's Day. And so that's the first row, what vacations I have scheduled, because I'm always 1 month in advance. So the only reason why I have this much makeup on is because I did my Valentine's Day photos. I did Valentine's, Super Bowl, and St. Patty's Day all today, which consists of buying a bunch of props. And I might spend 2 hours a month creating it. And then even some of that stuff is evergreen that I just used from years before. But so I spend maybe 2 hours a month and I batch my content, and then it can just get scheduled for the month. So if I am sick or I'm on vacation or it's getting scheduled and it's getting done, I just don't overthink it. Like, how many posts is too many posts too much? Well, when's the optimal time, and how many? I have never paid for any followers.
You can't do big volume and get stuck in the weeds, guys. You just can't. That's where everybody gets stuck and then they don't get it going. So you've got the visibility down. I don't know if you'd be willing to share, but I'd love to see that marketing calendar, because you've already thought of all these holidays and everything. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll definitely send it to you.
I'll send it to everybody.
Yeah.
And then, the second thing is credibility, right? So you have to be visible. You've got to get your ass out of the office. You've got to get to the open houses, the networking, hosting masterminds. If you don't feel comfortable hosting them all, you got to go to them at minimum, right? So, And then Denise, you saying, oh, it's like taking a horse tour, getting 5 new agents a week. Like, I would be happy if all of y'all met 1 new agent a week, every week, right? And Denise is going 5 is like taking a horse tour. So again, this just tells you the level of drive. What is your level of drive, and how much fire do you have in your belly, and what standards are you going to set for yourself? Denise has set this like on the moon standard, and in 10 years, she's added 6,000 people to her database. You don't have to be a Denise, but the point is there a roadmap to get to 200 million? Yeah, that's what Denise did. And you guys saw at the beginning of this call, she was at 53 purchases in 2016. So it's just doing the stuff over and over again. So you've got visibility. Then the second thing that you seem to have focused on a lot is credibility. Is constantly demonstrating yourself as a credible professional. And I find that some people, they do the fun, but they're not doing the credibility piece. Mm-hmm. Like, you are doing all credibility, and your coach is like, yeah, can you have a little bit more fun? Because that makes you approachable and all that stuff. Yeah. And the final thing is profitability. How do you convert that into profitability? How does all this activity work? So just since you've been at this for a long time, Denise, I'm wondering, on a lead tracker, right? We look at various leads and where they come from. Mm-hmm. You've got current client referrals. How do you do on current client referrals? You closed 50 deals a month last month. How did you do? Or last year?
We classify them as repeat clients or past client referrals, and that makes up about 23% of our business. And that's a whole nother, we've coined Nerd Club Alum. I've made it cool to be a nerd. And so if you do a deal with us, you're part of my Nerd Club Alum. And I tell agents and I tell clients when they get pre-qualified, we don't just have a pre-closing team, closing team, but we have a whole post-closing concierge team. Every month we're updating you about what your equity position is. Every month you're getting an invite from me, where it might be me and the real estate attorney talking about how your house can skip probate, or how to budget appropriately for you and your family, what the difference is between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, because you're now part of my Nerd Club Alum. We do client appreciation events. So when I've made it like that I always wanted to be like Harley Davidson, where I've never owned a motorcycle, but people are so nuts about Harley Davidson that they will tattoo the logo on their flesh. I'm like, before I die, if I could just have a client be so passionate about Nerd Club that they tattoo nerd glasses, like I might retire. That might just be like, how cool is that, that this company has created this community that they feel so close to one another that they tattoo the logo on their flesh. That is badass. So
Badass.
you've
So
got to
23
do something.
So this Nerd Club, prior to this call, right before you were hosting a class, and you had said maybe it was a home buyer class, but was it a Nerd Alum class, or what was the class you just came from?
This was a how to buy a second home and turn your current one into a rental, which is a very hot topic right now. So I posted all over social media. It's for the masses. I sent it out to every client, past client, but it wasn't a exclusive. The things that my Nerd Club alum get are exclusive. They're part of a private Facebook group.
And basically what you've created for the Nerd Club alum is like, I'm going to be that person that's not just focused on your mortgage, but you're all around financial health. So it goes back to your brand from the beginning of being a financial advisor and your whole story. And you basically created your own BNI where you have a divorce attorney, you have a financial advisor, you have a trust attorney, you have, and you just pre-book them throughout the whole year and say, hey, you better be a badass referral partner and professional, because I'm going to expose you to my entire database of people and promote you.
Right.
And then you're hosting these on Zoom, I'm assuming.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you're sending out a monthly email with a Zoom recording and everything to your Nerd alum. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm showing, like, my most recent one was how to budget. It's so basic, but it's like, here's, print out your bank statements, highlight in green all your deposits, highlight in red, anything that's meals and entertainment, highlight. And it's literally just teaching people, how do you budget and how do you know how much is being allocated where? And so much of budgeting is just paying attention to where your money's going. But the average consumer has no idea how to do it. So you just, and that's what I'm saying, is some things that we might think are so basic and dud topics. Like sometimes the most boring stuff is the things that, like, I get the most praise about, like, holy cow, I had no idea. I'm like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem very sexy, but it's.
So this how to buy a second home and turn it into a rental. I bet you have agents that share these classes to their entire database because they don't want to be teaching it. They're not organized enough. And all of a sudden your agents are like by de facto referring you clients because they're saying, listen to this chick. Because you're so you're doing one for consumers at large.
Yep.
You're doing one for realtors. You're doing one for your Nerd Club every month.
Yeah. Every month.
Every month.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then realtors, what percentage of your business was realtors?
Majority.
Okay. What else? Let's talk about the other categories then.
I have builders. I landed a production builder account that we did last year. I think we did 83 units with. Those are the ones I don't think are populating on MMI. Builder. So my number one client is real estate agents. I think it was something 99, like 399 for, maybe it was 299 units from realtors. And then past client or repeat client is the second bucket. Third bucket is our builder account, which is Beezer. One that's been trending a lot since I've been doing these webinars. Like, I'll have other loan officers nationwide attend these because they want a copy, which I'm totally okay with. I'm like, here's my only thing. You can copy all my stuff, but if you have a Texas client, like, send them to me. Yeah. You can copy all my stuff all you want, but like, you can attend my webinars, do it yourself, but just, so I've gotten a lot more, and maybe because a lot of people are relocating to DFW, out of state LO referrals was in our top 5. And then social media.
Now, what about these business people that you include? How many deals a year, or what percentage are coming from CPAs, financial advisors, insurance agents, stuff like that?
Like less than 8%.
Wow. So you're using them just as a resource, but you're not getting a lot of business out of it.
No. And that's very important, because people who follow me, there's a coach out there that claims that because I attended one of his conferences in 2013 and my numbers have gone from this to this, they've claimed that growth has been from this CPA financial advisor, and it's not. And I don't say that to be disrespectful, but I just say that to let people know I may not do a great job with getting that business. That's an area of growth, an opportunity for me. I don't ask for it from them probably enough. It's not a channel I've spent too much, and I need to. That's my whole point, is I need to. But if you see things with my face on it that says this is what she did,
Yeah.
Maybe not true.
So, all right. So we talked about how you get a lot of initial contacts. So guys, you're seeing that Denise is doing a lot of Zoom stuff, but she's building these communities. She's building a past client community, and she's building a general consumer community. And then she's building the realtor community. And then she's got 2 realtor communities. She's got her VIP and she's got her general, right? And she's just programming that. And then she's very active on social, so people feel connected. You don't do a lot to have fun with people, Denise. You're actually would rather be behind your desk, it looks like. And you're super consistent with a Friday email. Building rapport, people get to know you through social media, and you're very good at weaving in your story. Guys, you know, we had Renee Rodriguez in town and he talked about your story. Denise, just in the course of this, told us a little bit about college, a little bit about her first job, a little bit about her childhood hardship. We got a sense, like, what is this girl's why? Why is she so engaged? Would you want to refer her? Would you want to do business with her? Hell yes. So how do we involve that building rapport, even if you're not doing it knee to knee or, like you said, one-to-one? So close. This is a tough thing for most people. They're focused on buddies with the realtors. They have a hard time asking for the business. Where do you stand on this? And what's your go-to line for a realtor and then a client that you're working with?
So anytime I'm trying to close, you had to have asked what I call tie down questions at the beginning. It's tough to close if you don't know what their pain points are. And so usually anytime I'm meeting with a client or a real estate agent, I want to know what's, like, let's just say for a client example, what's your biggest concern right now with buying a home? And in the last few years, we haven't even talked about that kind of stuff, because the last few years has been about speed, not about feelings or quality, you know. And now it's like people were going to a fast food restaurant a couple of years ago and that may have worked, but now they're sitting down at fine dining and they're about to overpay for the steak. Is your restaurant worthy enough to be overpaying for the steak? Is your person at the front desk showing up? Are there any stains on the glasses? How's the tablecloth? How'd the kitchen perform? Now more than ever, the front end of the kitchen has to be working with the back end, because it's not about speed anymore, it's about quality. So I want to know things like, what concerns do you have? What fears do you have? What items do you need from a lender that you feel like you may not be getting? But there are certain open-ended questions that you can ask. When you get the answers to those, and by the way, when they respond, it's the initial response is always a surface level response. Yeah. You got to ask us another question. And usually that second question is, tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? So when you said this, could you clarify that? It's always my second go-to question is always that. That's the answer that's going to be the tie down and how you close them. And so, you know, it's not a one, but if you don't ask those questions, and that's where I think most loan officers fail, and salespeople in general, they ask the question of, what do you feel like you're missing from your current lender relationship now? I feel like they could do a better job communicating. Oh, well, I have great communication, Shayla. Let me tell you, let me open up all these bags of tricks right here. And let me tell you all these things that I do to communicate. And it's like, whoa, tell me more about that. What do you mean by communicate? Is it the front end of the process? Is it the middle? Is it the pass? Is it leads? Is it, because you're going to word vomit for the rest of the meeting now about this great bag of tricks you have to be an awesome communicator. And it could be about things that they don't give a shit about, because they're just talking about the lead stage. And so you've got to, don't go to problem solving mode on that second question. Go, what do you mean by communicate? What does that mean to you? What does that look like to you? What would an ideal, you know, and that's the best way to get those nuggets. And then boom, at the end of it, when they feel like they know, like, and trust you, you're going to nail them with the close and be like, you know what you said at the beginning about how you felt like your current lender, I'd love to go into more detail with you about that, because that is one thing that we do. Is any single client that you send to us, it goes in our follow-up system. It took me 2.5 years to build this system. It's so thoughtful and it's so intentional that every time we attempt a phone call, a text, or an email, you're going to get updated to the point where you're going to get so annoyed with updates. Would it be okay if I annoy you with over communication? Right. Let's do this, you know, but I'm not going to talk about communication if they don't have a pain point for it.
Right.